What up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to 901 Sports Excel, but we're tapping into all things Bluff City sports. A special show for you today because the prodigal son, Penny Hardaway, brought a championship to Memphis, and it's all anyone is talking about. Gimme that stamp. The Tigers are tonight's big idea. The Memphis Tigers, champions of the American Athletic Conference. Memphis defeats Houston 75-65 to win their first AAC tournament title in Penny Hardaway's 5th year as head coach, their 10th year in the league, and they finally nail one. They punched their ticket to the NCAA Tournament as the automatic bid and are an 8 seed in the East region. It's the 2nd year in a row that Memphis joins the big dance, but this year they're going as AAC tournament champions. Kendrick Davis named Tournament Most Outstanding Player. He and Williams on the all-tournament team, and the emotions of the moment.
I hold myself to a high standard when it comes to coaching because there's a lot on my back, being from the city, and this thing coming full circle and being a player at the university, so I want to do really well. And when we're failing, it really bothers me. And right now I'm going to definitely have fun and enjoy this because I've learned to do that along the way.
Happy moment there for Penny Hardaway. I got some very tall guests today. Joining me, former Memphis Tiger and host of the Will Coleman podcast. It is the one and only Will Coleman and ABC's 24's fearless sports leader, Clayton Collier. Guys, appreciate y'all joining me. A big day today.
It is. And I'd ask how you're doing, but I already know.
No, man, I'm over the moon, and I'm excited for my guys, excited for the team, especially excited for Penny. Big things in such a short time, in my opinion, at Memphis, Tennessee. 5 years here, 2nd year at the Big Dance. I mean, I think that says a lot for what Penny has done to this program and the trajectory of the program.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. As we saw a moment ago, the Tigers finally able to pull out a win against Houston. They do it the biggest game of the season to date. I'm going to ask you guys, what does the AAC championship mean for this team? Will, I'll start with you.
It means a lot, and I feel like there's a lot more weight to it, especially with these guys, you know, what they've done, what they've overcome, and especially with things being shaken up in the following year. Obviously that's a different discussion for a different day, but I think this is the perfect cherry on top to cap off this season, especially with things to come in the AAC.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Houston's on their way out, right? As are other teams in this conference, and so if you wouldn't have got a win against them on their way out, they would have swept you 3 times. Really would have been hard to swallow for Penny Hardaway and his bunch. So I know this one is definitely especially sweet. Same question to you, Clayton. What does this AAC championship mean, really, in the context of everything that's gone on?
Yeah, I mean, it really would have been 4 times had they gotten the loss there, because you go back to last year's conference tournament as well, but it didn't happen. So we don't have to talk about 4 straight. You know, Penny noted before this week he came here to drop banners, plural, and not just NCAA tournament banners. Now he's got 2 already and counting. Let's see if they get the 3rd. That one might be a little tougher to get, but they continue to drop these. Houston has been a fierce rival, so to send them out, as we were just talking about, they got the best of Memphis 3 straight times. Now you come in, Houston's final game in the American Athletic Conference. You send them out of this conference saying, bye, so long, here's an L for you. Even without Sasser, that's got to feel sweet for these Memphis Tigers. I mean, you saw how frustrated Alex Lomax was after that loss at home, punted the ball about, just as far as I've seen a Tigers kicker, punt it in some time here. But I mean, to hear their name called, Kendrick Davis, he didn't want to wait for it. He decided, hey, I'm going to punch the ticket myself. Went off for 31 points, got the job done. This was a huge day for Memphis, no matter what. Conference championship, Marcus Sasser was there no matter what. Big day for the U of M getting that conference title.
Yeah, and Kendrick Davis in particular has had a long road. He talked a lot about being at SMU, losing to Memphis, not only in the AAC tournament, they played in the NIT tournament. We're hoping the Lady Tigers get in that WNIT, but talked about how that kind of adversity, he had a lot of it, and he wanted to join a program where winning was the standard, and he brought a championship, set a tournament record for the amount of points he scored in the 3 games that they played. So it was just really impressive from him and really all the Tigers. They did end up making the NCAA tournament. They weren't called into the last bracket. Some fans not paying attention might have been sweating a little bit, but we knew they were going dancing with that automatic bid, and they're going to be an 8 seed in the East region. Clayton, do you think seeding is right for the Tigers, or should it have been higher, should it have been lower? Just right, Goldilocks?
I think it was pretty fair. I mean, there's some arguments that you could probably make. According to the seeding list, the Tigers were the 29th overall seed. That's the top 8 seed. So they almost pushed to that 7 line. I think if Marcus Sasser had played and they still beat them, I think no doubt they should have been a 7 seed. I think it's still arguable no matter what, because if you look at the 7 seed teams that were there, it's Northwestern, Missouri, Michigan State, Texas A&M, all SEC and Big Ten teams. So obviously that right there working against you for the Tigers. But Memphis beat Texas A&M. Their resumes are pretty similar. That's one that I say, hey, there's an argument to be made there. They should have been higher. Memphis was just 4-4 in quad 1 versus 5-9 for Michigan State as well. They just lost to Ohio State in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. I didn't really agree with that one being higher. The other two, Northwestern and Missouri, I didn't have a problem with. Northwestern, 7 quad 1 wins to Memphis' 4. They also had no losses outside of quad 1 and quad 2. Missouri didn't even have a single loss outside of quad 1. Obviously, that does not apply to Memphis, even though they did have a great resume. Seeding lists, they do change depending on matchups a little bit, where they want to have them, who's some of those higher seeds. Obviously, they didn't want to put them too close to Houston, obviously. So those change a little bit. Does it get much better, though, if you were in, say, Michigan State position, or if you were in Texas A&M's position? They're going to get Marquette or Texas, presumably, if they make it to the round of 32. That's the Big East and the Big 12 champion, as opposed to getting who you would in the second round, which is Purdue, the Big 10 champion. So it didn't really get a whole lot easier, even if you did get up to that 7 line. So I say fair enough. I say there's some argument a little bit there, but that's my long way of saying my answer.
Well, I think Memphis is kind of like right where we thought they should be, and it really was more of the stumbles they had earlier on in the season. You get swept by Tulane. There's no harm, no foul getting swept by Houston, but there were some opportunities they had early on in the conference play that really kind of probably stung them a little bit when it came to seeding. Will, what do you think?
After looking at it and after thinking on it, like you said, some games that we should have won kind of slipped, and some opportunities that we had to take, we could have, but we didn't. But looking at this 8-9 matchup, I mean, honestly, I don't think it couldn't have gotten any sweeter for the Tigers. I mean, we got an FAU team that's nothing to scoff at. They got a pretty good team, but I think we handled that. And once we see Purdue, I'm smelling an upset, because even though they have arguably the best player in college basketball with Edey, I think we match up well with them. I don't think they do very well with pressure, something that we love to do. Penny loves that half-court trap, and he loves speeding the game up. So I think with that speed and that pressure we're able to put on Edey and the rest of the Boilermakers, we're able to take that, use that to our advantage, get some picks at half-court, speed the game up. And with the inconsistency of the guards that Purdue has sometimes, I think we can capitalize that, take advantage of it, and get an upset and go on to the further region, or further down in the region of the NCAA tournament.
Will, I will call you out a little bit, though, here. I saw you tweet that this was some BS when the bracket was coming out, and I don't think that meant Bachelors of Science. So what did you have a problem with?
For one, I think, it's no secret. I don't think the NCAA likes Memphis. It's Memphis fans, we're very sensitive, okay? And I think the NCAA likes to pick on us. And even last year, we go out west, we play Gonzaga, we take them down to the nitty gritty. We lose by 2, but I just feel like the NCAA loves taking Memphis as far away as they can to get away from the hometown. And like I think we have a very loyal fan base. They get it's highs and lows, very bipolar on this side. I will admit that. Got some bipolar fans, but we're adamant and we're passionate. So this traveling distance and where we end up playing, I think it hurts us a little bit, but looking at it, doing a little homework, seeing where my Tigers fall, I don't think we couldn't have asked for a better 8-9 position in this bracket.
Oh, I think Memphis is not going to be intimidated, right?
No, not
I think
at all.
I think that's the biggest thing there. Yes, they're matched up with first of all, you got to beat Florida Atlantic. That's A.
Yeah.
But you're matched up with that 1 seed in the next game. They've already played the number 1 seed, number 1 overall 3 times this year, and they took on Alabama and took them into a close game. So you're not worried about Purdue. We'll see what happens. The Tigers will take on FAU this Friday, but other teams in that East region, Purdue, the number 1 seed, who they play if they get past FAU. You also got Duke, you got Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan State, USC. The list goes on, and a whole lot of other talented teams. So what I want to ask you guys, FAU's, they are the winners of the Conference USA tournament. You heard KD, he's kind of looking forward to it, as are the rest of the Tigers. How do you think the Tigers stack up with some of the rest of the region? I know you talked a little bit about Purdue. What do you think about the rest of this?
I do see Duke and Tennessee moving on. No disrespect to Oral Roberts, Louisiana, any team to reach this bracket, because it takes a lot of work, takes a lot of gumption, a lot of dedication, blood, sweat, and tears. But when I see Duke and Tennessee move on, I see Duke getting a win here because Tennessee, prayers all up to Ziegler. That's the heart and soul and the engine of that offense. So they have a little bit of trouble scoring. Mm-hmm. So I see Duke, they've been playing some excellent basketball on the tail end of this season. So I see them, I guess that's an upset, if you will. I see them taking out Tennessee and then moving on to get to, further down in that East region.
All right, Clayton, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to switch up with you real quick here so I can start bracketology.
Oh, yeah.
So Memphis, FAU, I think these are two very similar teams in terms of that they both are top 30 in the country when it comes to scoring. They like to get up. FAU, better three-point shooting team in terms of numbers. Don't turn the ball over as much. But they also haven't played a lot of tough competition. We're talking about how much Memphis has played, between the Houston, the Alabama games, Auburn, and so on. So I'm going to give the edge to Memphis for this first one. I know you like the Purdue matchup. I'm not liking this as much. I mean, Zach Edey, the guy just doesn't foul out.
Yeah.
And if you can't take him out of that game, that's going to be tough. I don't know if Malco and DeAndre can quite match that guy with 7-1, 7-3, depending on what you're looking at there. So I think round of 32 probably is where it goes. I'm not saying it can happen.
Right.
I'm just going to say my money's probably at Purdue. On the bottom end of this, I say it's Duke all the way. I think whoever is coming out of this is going down to the Sweet 16 because, as you mentioned, Zakai Ziegler, I think him going down, Tennessee has really struggled since then. I think Duke has really turned it on. I think it's going to be Duke and Purdue coming out of this one going into the Sweet 16, in my opinion, from there. But what do you have to say, Avery?
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. Do a lot of switching around here. As far as the Memphis, Florida Atlantic, I'm going to give the edge to Memphis just because I've had eyes on them. They passed the eye test to me. They're a really tough team. Not to say Florida Atlantic isn't a tough team, but it is nice that Memphis gets a quick little taste of a team that they will see in the AAC moving forward because Florida Atlantic is moving into the conference. Coming in, I kind of agree with Clayton on this one. As far as Purdue goes, Zach Edey, he's a monster in there. He really is. He's not going to foul out. And what we've seen this year is that if DeAndre Williams gets into foul trouble, that's when the Tigers really get into trouble. So if he can stay out of foul trouble and make it difficult on Edey, then I think the Tigers have a chance. I think when they play anybody as far as guard play, they're not going to have an issue. They're going to have the edge in the guard play department. On the bottom side of this, I like John Shire. I think Duke looks a lot similar to the way Memphis has looked this year with John Shire taking over that program and trying to bring it to the glory that Coach K had it in. I think they're motivated that way. But Oral Roberts is no slouch, but I'm going to give the edge to Duke. I think Louisiana upsets Tennessee. I think Louisiana upsets Tennessee, especially because they're still trying to figure out how to move on without Zakai Ziegler. So we'll see what happens. But if Tennessee were to get through there, they beat Duke, Memphis beats Purdue, you're looking at a Memphis and Tennessee in that Sweet 16.
Is that a rematch?
To get to the Elite Eight?
Not really a rematch, but, obviously things got a little hairy last year.
Right.
It's he say, she say, we got scared, they got scared. Now, in a perfect world, I would love to see that. I think every Memphis and Tennessee fan would love to see that. But I'm with you. If that could happen, I think that'd be a game that would go down in history and a lot of people would love, and we would earn a lot of bragging rights if that was to happen and we pull off the W.
And it would be in Madison Square Garden. So it doesn't get any bigger than that. Any other notes, gentlemen, before we wrap this thing up?
I know.
All right. I'll say this. Memphis took the top overall seed down to the last couple minutes last year, so I'm not going to count them out for anything. We'll see what happens. I mean, Penny Hardaway, once he's gotten in there, he's shown last year that he's got his team playing as hard as possible. Kendrick Davis, he said he's a closer, he's a killer, same for DeAndre. This team is peaking at the right time.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. I know we're fading them here at the end of the first weekend. At least two of us are. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're the team that surprises a bit out of that 8-9 out of anybody right now.
They beat Tulane by 40 points in the AAC semifinal. They were up 20 points on Houston. So Penny Hardaway's going to have those boys ready to go. We know that. We know they're going to be a tough out for anybody, regardless of who they play. Fellas, a lot of really good insight there. We're looking ahead a little bit to Purdue. There's a lot of buzz around the city, but Memphis has to handle Florida Atlantic first. That game tips off Friday, 8:15 local time from Columbus, Ohio. We appreciate you guys joining us. This has been 901 Sports XL.